are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.
We are live today, one-on-one. He is at Helium Comedy Club all weekend long. It's J.P. Sears. Welcome to St. Louis, man. What's happening?
Thank you, Chris.
I can tell you're excited.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. I've been hanging out with awesome people, and I'm just fascinated by the unique things in St. Louis, like these blue mailboxes that you can throw your trash in the middle of the city.
That's really cool of us, isn't it? Yeah, we're helpful,
unique.
I guess you could say. So, dude, where are you from?
I'm originally from Ohio. It's a state below Michigan.
Okay, go on. You've got my attention. You said Michigan in a statement. Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah.
In the past 3 months, my beautiful wife and I have lived in Austin, Texas.
Okay, that explains something we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So where were you a couple nights ago?
Couple nights ago, Austin, Texas, Aubrey Marcus's house. He's got you know, if y'all haven't heard of Aubrey Marcus,
listen to him. He's saying y'all already.
Y'all,
you can drop the y'all while you're here. It's cool.
Okay, I can speak like a person with a
high
high-level IQ.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you're at Aubrey Marcus. For those of you who don't know, Aubrey Marcus has teamed up with Joe Rogan in the last couple of years, and his name has just blown up. But he's self-made on his own anyway. Health guru, businessman, entrepreneur, really he's a thought leader now.
Philosopher, author, like all the things. He's really a great
Probably
person.
Kick most people's ass too.
He
like
100% could.
Yeah.
I mean, severely. He would severely injure me if he wanted to.
Well, good. So you were on good terms at his home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or should we say compound? Like, is he that kind? Is he rolling in that kind of dough now?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Does he have the dough in the bank? Probably. And I think he'll have the compound set up before too long, you know, machine gun guards.
Hunting hogs from a helicopter and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I get it. I see where he's headed.
For sure. But yeah, the guy is great. Aside from all his great accolades and his notoriety, he's just a genuine dude. He keeps it very real.
Yeah.
And in fact, this will sound absolutely insane, but that's because it is insane. The reason why I went over to Aubrey's house, we've become great friends, and he was having a channeler in to do a podcast with him, a guy named Paul Selig. Now, this guy, he apparently channels these guides from a higher dimension, and it is just the trippiest thing. And in fact, Aubrey called me up and said, JP, Paul Selig's coming to town. I've read one of Paul's books, and I listened to Paul Selig on Aubrey's podcast 6 months ago. So I knew of him, and Aubrey said, he's coming to town. He's got a new book coming out in November. Would you be interested in doing a video or a podcast with him to help promote him? I'm like, yeah, man, I think his work's awesome. I've got my own podcast coming out, launching in the next week and a half. So I'm like, let's do it. We'll video the thing. It'll go out on my
Several
YouTube,
million
Facebook.
people will see this. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, after the day of channeling shenanigans, which was cool.
You're going to walk me through this because I'm sure, so you're from Ohio. I'm guessing you have a grandpa that was blue collar. You have some family that if you told them you were heading to Austin, Texas to speak to a channeler, they'd be like, pick up a shovel and do something with your life, right? Like, what? So will you walk me through this? Do you buy into this? I don't know who he is, so he could be very interesting.
Real men don't listen to channelers.
That's
what
fair.
my dad always thought.
Yeah.
You know, with things like this, I would say I'm always skeptical at first glance. I think one commonality.
Okay, I like that statement.
Yeah,
right.
Something I've learned about
right
humanity. Maybe the only thing I've learned about humanity is we're all full of crap all of the time.
It's very true.
It just is there going to be some genuineness that shines through a crack in the crap?
Sure.
So of course I'm skeptical going in with Paul, but right away I could tell like he's genuine in the sense like he's not out to deceive people. Whether or not he's actually channeling, I don't know, but he's like a great guy. But when I was doing my podcast with him, and then later on at Aubrey's, he did a one-on-one.
So you did one for your new podcast that's just, what's the name of that?
the Awaken with JP Sears show.
Very nice.
I named it after myself.
Good for you. I was going to suggest that, but I think you've got marketing down a little better than I.
So on my podcast, he did a reading of me, kind of meaning psychically goes into me. And what he said...
Did he wear protection? I mean, what are we talking about here? Okay.
He was clean.
Okay, good. One of the channels told you that, right?
Yeah,
He's like, he's cool, dude. It's all right, man.
Yeah, he told me he's clean, and he was channeling it. He's
Right.
a physical reality. It doesn't matter. And what he was saying about me, how I am psychologically, the stuff that I need to work on within my own being, like it was spot on. Like it really was,
right,
to the point where it's like that feels like a bullseye. And it wasn't these hokey generalities that you might get in your astrology report, like, Chris, now's a good time for you to let go of things that don't serve you. Does that resonate with you?
Go on. Yes.
Yeah, and I sense that you've had challenge in your life.
There has been challenge. I couldn't get the donut I wanted this morning.
Exactly. That's what I just told you. And then I also...
Now that I think of it, you did.
I also sense that you have a desire for things to, like, things are going okay, but you have a desire for things to get even better.
Improvement is a goal of mine.
Right. I just said that. So anyway, that kind of hokey BS reading that could come from a fortune cookie, and it's true for 100% of the people. This was more dialed in than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the dinner at Aubrey's house, Paul did a little bit of a talk, and then if people had questions, he was going to answer them. And my wife raised her hand and said, I want you to help me heal my relationship with my sister. So Paul kind of goes into his channel thing, and it's really cool because he speaks in like a trippy voice and says everything twice. It's a great performance. But what he said to my wife was even more dialed in than what he said to me, because like he brought in Amber's mom and exactly like how they are with each other and their family dynamic. And my wife was just flabbergasted. I'm just looking at it like, wow, that was so spot on. So
he clocks in and it's go time.
It seems like it. And of course, like if you said, JP, you have to wager $50, is he for real or is he just kind of speaking generalities?
Mm-hmm.
I'd put $50 on it that he's real.
Interesting. So you think he's just more tapping into what's in front of him, or do you think he is accessing some, I'm not trying to sound pejorative here, but another realm of some sort?
I like how you use the word pejorative.
It was good. I had it's on my
so pedantic
list
of you.
Yes, right. That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I think both. I think it seems like he taps into both the person in front of him as well as like these spirit guides, Santa Claus, whatever it is. And I say that with zero sense of certainty, only that's my opinion based on personal experience with him.
How much ayahuasca was going on at this dinner?
Significant amounts, like severe amounts.
Have you tried that?
I have.
You have? Yeah, that's once you get into the Aubrey Marcus crew, Joe Rogan stuff, like it's kind of like a rite of passage. There's a woman from St. Louis who's dropped off the map, but Amber Lyons, remember her? Did you know her at all? She went from CNN reporter to she's just like a spokesman for ayahuasca now, I feel
which probably pays zero.
Yeah, right. And I was like, I don't know if this is really the best career path, but it's interesting to see that. Let's talk about the ayahuasca experience. So there's fads in life and there's cycles to things. Do you feel like it was as advertised?
It's a great question. All I can say it's from such a majestic messenger that question came, Chris.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're tapping into something.
His mom spelled upside down. I just psychically need to tell you that.
Good stuff.
My experience with ayahuasca, the one time I drank it, by the way, it was in a legit ceremony down in Costa Rica. It wasn't just like, here's this creepy guy who had a source.
I bet I get you by ayahuasca a couple blocks north of here, too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
My experience, it was a beautiful experience. I had physical sensations and visions that
Did you hear from the big voice?
I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
But that's like something that happens at times, right?
That's what people say.
Because everybody's is different, yeah.
And my wife has been working with ayahuasca for 5 years. She's done dozens of journeys. And what I like best about ayahuasca is it's a tool for people to use if they are called to it to help them live a more awakened life. What I like least about ayahuasca is it's gotten trendy. which means people are using this quote unquote sacred substance in a very unsacred way. It can be used as social status. Now there's friends of mine who are who are regulars, and they're genuine with it. Aubrey Marcus, my wife.
Sure.
You know, I was called to drink it once, and I'll probably do it again, but it's not like, you know, how the carpenter has the hammer in the tool belt, pulls it out. You know, ayahuasca is not that for me.
I'm almost picturing it like it's the equivalent of like somebody beer bonging out of an artifact from, you know, like Egyptian times or something, right? You're like, that's not, I mean, it functions at that, but that's not what you need that, right? Like that's, it should be treated with some respect.
I 100% agree with it. I mean, you're messing with something that's beyond your own mind, which also messes with your mind. And I think, you know, I've known people who have had very negative experiences and gotten impaired a bit in life from, I'd say, using plant medicine for the wrong reasons, which gets them into the wrong frequencies. And before too long, people are using it like a drug. And the people who use it like a drug are the first one to say, this is non-addictive. And it's like, well, yeah, so is gambling. And it's incredibly addictive just because it doesn't have chemical addictive properties.
I find that to be, I don't smoke myself. I have no problem with marijuana, any products. I'm for it. Like, let's make some money off it. If you want to take, I find people to be fairly disingenuous with their reasoning for like legalizing weed and stuff like that too. I'm sure you see a lot of that too. I have zero problem. If you want to smoke every day and function at a high level, I don't care. That's fine. But I do find it funny when the wrong people speak up for it as a cure-all too.
I agree. It's like I'm not a weed person myself, just absolutely not my thing. And I agree. I think it should be 100% a choice.
It's comical that it's not.
It really is. I think we're going to look back in 20 years and be like, really? It used to be illegal?
Yeah.
And then you look at people who, you know, most of the people I know who are chronic weed smokers, just no pun intended, who are the first to tell you all its medicinal properties. It's like, bro, you're not using it in a medicinal way. I think your life is actually negatively impaired. If it's so powerful, then we realize anything with power has the power for construction or destruction. And I don't think it's the weed itself or the substance. I think it's how you use it, why you use it, and how frequently. So just like any medicine, you can kill yourself with medicine. People do it all the time with opioid addiction. So let's not fool ourselves with this word medicine. I think we're all, get back to the original point, Chris. I think we're all full of crap.
Nice. He brought it back around. You can see that all weekend at Helium Comedy Club. So let's
call back.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good term too.
Thank you.
Let's talk about you. So you're from Ohio. As someone who is familiar with you but not super into your story, as in haven't had the chance to learn a bunch about you, from the outside, you appear to be someone who has had massive internet fame with mocking spiritual type things. But I noticed that I like paying attention to little things, whatever. I've already noticed like a massage therapist posting about going to see you tonight at Helium Comedy Club in the mall basement. So get that plug in. The folks that follow you, and if you're hanging out with Aubrey Marcus, that means there's some genuine stuff about your beliefs. You keep yourself in great shape. You're talking to mediums, channelers, whatever. Give us your story. I mean, you're here to do stand-up comedy. Is that your background? Is that something you've transitioned into? Give us the overview of either the character or just kind of what you're out doing.
Yeah, so before
What are you?
You know, it's like, what am I not? Really? I think we're all the same thing.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I'm a drop of water in the oceanic consciousness of all that is, Chris. And I am also
my
you
first
and you
name.
are
I
me.
appreciate that.
Thank
too.
you, Chris. I'm building rapport with you,
That's
Chris.
good. I'm watching it happen.
Or as the French say, rapport.
Oh my goodness.
And Chris, does it feel like it's working, Chris?
It certainly does.
You, like me, enjoy building rapport. So, you know, before I made a single comedy video on YouTube, I had been working in the profession as a life coach for 13 years, doing one-on-one work with people, helping them heal emotional stuff, step into their personal power, like really.
Like personal, business, anyway, just saying like, hey, I have tools that can improve your lot in life.
Yeah. And along with that, I was teaching classes, workshops, retreats around the world. So with that, during those 13 years of my first 13 years,
what was the background in that? I mean, is it a therapist classification? Is it based in some form of religion? What was the basis?
Very untraditional. So I dropped out of college after 3 months, and
wow,
I was done.
You were like,
that smart.
This is not me. Oh yeah,
graduated
you got your degree that quick. Yeah, sure.
So I started studying a lot of courses that would be quote unquote alternative because they weren't through universities. But when I would find someone who I would deem like, this is a wise person and they're running their courses, like, cool, I'm not going to fall out of that with a degree. I'll have their certification, which won't mean anything to anybody else, but it'll mean something to me because it looks valuable. So I've done a lot of that with people in Ohio and California. And during the first 13 years of my career, I really told myself a convincing story that it would be bad to let my sense of humor out professionally.
Right.
Like, it would discredit me from being an insightful dude, man.
Right.
But as a kid, much like everybody else that I'm talking to in this conversation, Chris, I used humor as a way of dealing with pain, suppressing insecurity. So my humor, my inner comedian had always been there. But then 4 years ago,
let him out.
Yeah. I let the cat out. Let him out of the cage. So I let my ferocious honey badger lion cat hybrid gopher eagle talons out of the cage. And I decided, all right, I got to make a comedy video for YouTube. Like, I'm just having these ideas come to me. I've got to satisfy that creative desire, even though I do think it's going to be bad for business. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing making videos, and probably not even going to be funny, but I made it.
And you were paying, so life coach, you were paying your bills.
Yeah.
As that's impressive on its own too.
Yeah.
Just from taking that risk and then building up enough of a trust with people that they work with you that much.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work, and but it built up so I could support myself. And then when I started making YouTube videos, comedy videos, zero idea that they'd become anything. I didn't even think I'd keep doing it. Like, I'll make one and let that be bad for business, but it'll.
Sure.
But it awakened.
Woken in.
That's so on brand of me to not know how to say that. Awaken with JP. I awakened something inside of me creatively that was very satisfying. So expressing my perspective through the language of comedy. And at first, the canvas of that was the YouTube videos. So I was off and running. And the other part of your question, Chris, that I want to address, JP is me, was I only wanted to do comedy on things that were important to me and that I respected. That's why a lot of my comedy is in the health realm, nutrition, fitness, spirituality, self-growth, things like that. And then occasionally like a social issue. I
got to really get in there and get after it.
Social justice warriors. I don't like to do comedy on things that I don't respect because I don't think the world needs more condescending judgment.
That's fair.
I'll just keep that stuff to myself. And then, the transition from YouTube, I started getting hired at like, JP, can you come speak at our health conference or entrepreneurial conference and do some comedy on stage?
I was going to say, do you have to ask them? Like, do you want silly JP? Do you want straight?
Yeah, that was a question that I'd always have to ask. And that got me going with, okay, I'm doing comedy on stage. This is awesome. And then last November, so coming up on a year ago, was the initial launch of the full-on live comedy shows.
Very, very cool. Congratulations on that. So how is this a full-time? I mean, if you're touring, if you're doing Helium, I'm sure you're doing their other clubs. Are you doing this every weekend now? I mean,
it's quite a bit. I mean, I'm not traveling every single weekend out of the year, but this is
3 nights at a major chain. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I just did 5 shows in Salt Lake City last weekend, and so it's a lot of travel. And in the comedy shows, it's what's most important to me right now, most exciting, and of course, there's bunch of other pots on the fire as well, just to keep me busy and help me lose my sanity. But the comedy shows,
the company you're keeping would speak to, like, I'm guessing you have 50 irons in the fire, right? I mean, that's how you have to do it, right? With the comedy aspect of things, do you jump in? Is there anybody that intimidates you comedically? Do you just feel at home? I mean, on stage and getting after it. I mean, this has to be super, super exciting for you, but there's always that other side too.
I'm about to say something vulnerable, Chris.
Please, JP, get vulnerable.
Thank you. Would you mind saying that again with a lighter tone of voice?
JP, please get vulnerable.
Thank you. So when I compare myself to other comics, I do feel intimidated, and I think comparison is the worst thing we could ever do to ourselves.
Sure.
Yet when I do that, which luckily it's not often, but I find like, okay, the comics who I look up to, they've all been doing it since they were 18, sometimes earlier. And I've been doing stand-up comedy since November. And then, so I look at that, and the game of comparison would say like, well, that means I'm no good. And what I have to really remind myself is me standing in my sovereignty. I've got to do my thing because I'm actually not trying to do their thing. I'm not trying to fit into the typical mold of the typical stand-up comedian, not using typical as in like, you're born.
Yeah.
But I have the unique blessing of when I show up to a club, I'm playing to my audience. The people who show up, they already know of me. So we're already warm. So that gives me the opportunity to really talk about stuff that I want to talk about in my way, rather than the typical mold of stand-up comedy where you have to realize like, all right, starting out, I'm talking to a room full of strangers who doesn't know me. They're probably skeptical against me right from the get-go. So I've got to bridge and win them over. And I've got to talk about general stuff that these people who I don't know can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm blessed. Like I get to talk to my audience.
That's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I have to remind myself I'm doing JP comedy. I'm not necessarily doing stand-up comedy, though.
You should start hurling insults on Twitter at other comics.
I should. Here's what stand-up comedy should be.
Yeah. Now we're talking. Yeah.
Apparently some guy at the Montreal Comedy Festival was doing that. Did you hear about that?
I did. Who was it?
I don't even know his name, but he's some YouTuber.
Ryan from Helium's in the room. Oh no, I did hear about this, and he's basically he's basically like exiled now.
Yeah,
right.
That'd be like me going up to Chappelle and saying, Chappelle.
Who's that?
David.
Okay.
David Goliath Chappelle.
I'll look him up. Yeah.
He's online.
Mm-hmm.
He's bald.
Good.
Me going up to somebody who does. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I just ended the analogy because I'm bored with what I'm saying.
Right, with the idiot that spouted off at the comedy festival. So you're touring with this very positive experience. You have the podcast. I'm guessing, is there a supplement line coming out? I mean, are you working on that with the On It folks? How does this?
I'm sponsored by On It, so I did some promotion with them.
There you go. Have you got your blue belt in jiu-jitsu yet? What's on the horizon?
I want to learn how to break someone's arm.
Yeah, you seem like a guy who needs to break a lot of people's arms. What
sport? Is that jiu-jitsu or is that Thai kickboxing?
Sure, whatever you want to do. Sure.
Yeah. You feel the snap of a healthy humorist. Mm-hmm. It's invigorating. Yeah, I've got my private membership community going that I'm devoting attention to every week. I'm doing speaking alongside the comedy. We'll be pitching a TV show.
I was going to say there has to be an entertainment tie-in even past what you're doing now, right?
Yeah. So there's that. And what excites me is bringing creative expression in a way that I'm not already doing. If someone approached me and said, let's do a TV show that's exactly like your YouTube videos, only it'll be longer, I'd say no.
Why?
That's not exciting.
Right.
It's like dating your ex-girlfriend again. It's like, no, no.
Yeah, we're good. We did that.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I really am about the TV project. So much out of my control. Will it get picked up by a network? Who knows?
Start learning a little bit of behind the scenes on that, like the amount of things that people make $1 million on that never even see the light of day, and that it's pretty fascinating, actually. It's a weird, you think about it, you could be part of 10 shows. I know I've talked to people who've been a part of 5-10 shows, never get picked up, and they've got a couple million in the bank from the work too. That's just how difficult and crazy it is. in that world. So I'm sure that's an exciting world to.
I bet that $1 million helps dry a lot of
it
tears.
does. I bet they figure it out $1 at a time, as I've always said.
For me.
Well, gosh, I hope they figure it out. I hope you figure it out too. It seems like you don't really have enough positive things happening in your life, man. It's tough.
Well, thank you for that sarcasm. No, I feel very blessed to have a lot going, and of course I have my struggles and challenges, and I get messy and have my off days. And when I remember to count my blessings, I realize, like, damn, man, I'm living beyond my dream right now. I'm either not intelligent enough. Yeah, I'm just not intelligent enough to dream a dream this big. So I think for myself, and I think a lot of people, when we Forrest Gump our way through life, things not only work out, but they probably work out better than what our small self planned.
That's a great way to end it, man. I'm going to let you guys get after it. Go see JP at Helium all weekend long. This is a weird compliment. You're an excellent communicator. It's very nice speaking with you too. So it was great having you, man.
Thank you for thinking I'm an excellent communicator, Chris.
JP, you're good.
Awesome,
you're a good talker, dude.
Thank you, man. And I'm just trying to have the last word so I can assert my dominance over you. Chris, you're awesome. Thank you for having me, brother.
We are live, live, live. We are live, live.